with the birth of my second son, I was able to schedule the induction on a Sunday, and this was a day that my reflexologist could be present. My doctor came in and described to me what was going to happen. He was going to break my water, and everything would take place from there. And my reflexologist was explaining to him that she was going to be working on my feet while I was going through labor. So he asked her what she thought the outcome was going to be, and she said it would help with going into labor and speed up delivery, and hopefully there wouldn't be a need for an episiotomy. And he said, so you think she's going to go like a Ferrari then? And she smiled and said, well, we'll see. And he said, well, this is how I think it's going to go. I'm going to break her water. Right now it's about 12:30. And I'll come back around 3, and we can start Pitocin and get labor started, and we should have a baby by 6 p.m. So he left, but he assured me he wouldn't be too far away, just in case anything came up. And about 15 minutes after he left, nothing had started, and so my reflexologist said, would you like me to begin? And I said, sure, let's have a baby. So she starts working on my feet, and about 3 minutes into the session, I had my first contraction. And sure enough, she and my husband were watching the monitor, and they saw a little spike. Labor was starting, and the pain was starting. So she continued to work, and very quickly things were moving along. I was having contractions very quickly. Called for the nurses. We asked them if I could get the epidural because it was getting toward the painful part, and I really wanted to have an epidural. So they called the anesthesiologist, and it took about a half an hour for him to get there, and by the time he arrived, it was too late. I was too far along. They couldn't give me the epidural by then. So my reflexologist continued working on my feet, trying to relieve some of the discomfort that I was in, and it was helpful, very helpful, to have something else going on while I was in labor. So needless to say, the baby was coming soon, and they called my doctor back stat, and it had only been 2.5 hours since he broke my water, and baby was coming. It was time. So as I'm beginning to give birth, he couldn't believe that it had happened so fast, and within 2 hours and 35 minutes of him breaking my water, reflexology taking place, I had a brand new baby boy. It was very quick, very fast, no anesthesia, but it was the most wonderful thing ever. And I looked over at my reflexologist, and she's tearing up because this is the first time that she's been in a room while a live birth was happening. And of course she felt bad because there was no time for any kind of epidural or anesthesia or anything because everything moved along so quickly. But there also wasn't a need for an episiotomy. I didn't tear like I did with my first child. Everything was fine. And she apologized again for speeding it up and not giving me enough time to have an epidural, but I told her it's okay because it's not every day that you can be there to witness the birth of your grandchild. So, as you can probably guess, my reflexologist is my mother, and she's been doing my feet since I was born, and it's always been a way of life for me. And of course, I would love to have her present for the birth of her grandchildren and working on me, helping me through the process and getting through a natural childbirth. I would highly recommend reflexology for anybody. I'm so proud of my mom that after 34 years of practicing in her field, science has finally proven that what she's known all along is true and reflexology works. I would recommend it to anybody.